after the terror attack at London Bridge carried out by a man who had been released from prison on licence, the government have set out measures aimed at toughening up the monitoring of convicted terrorists released from prison on licence. Among the plans is this: using a polygraph test or a lie detector to prove that a terrorist is reformed and not planning to carry out an attack. But will using lie detector tests on terrorists work?
You can't use a polygraph to work out if somebody is lying or not, because actually there's no one thing that people, their bodies or their brains do when they're lying that we can scientifically identify and say, right then there, a lie happened.
So how does a polygraph test work?
So a polygraph, the phrase just means many measures. And the sort of thing we measure is what's called physiological states of the body, so things like your heart rate variability. This is measuring your breathing, how fast you're breathing. You can measure how sweaty your skin is. And what the polygraph does in a scientific term is it just lets you collate that information, get it all up on a screen, analyse it in a way that means it's all sort of locked to the same time base, and do things like say, well, this is what happens to you when you hear laughter.
But can you easily cheat on a lie detector test?
There's often the idea that you could game this. You might hold your breath or try and increase your heart rate some other way, and I mean, you could never rule out the possibility that somebody could do this. I think the bigger problem is that while it may tell you that somebody's in an emotional state, what it does not tell you is why they're in that emotional state.
Results from lie detector tests can't be used in UK courts because they can't provide conclusive proof, but they are being used in the probation service as a way to monitor offenders. Sex offenders have to take lie detector tests, and if they fail one, they can face extra supervision. So what is the best way to monitor former terrorists?
I don't think lie detectors on their own will ever be good. We know that they can be defeated. Everyone knows that they can be defeated. Lie detectors are one tool in a big toolkit. Those other toolkits could be geolocation devices. Then, of course, you can also take telephones to see who they're talking to and what they're saying. So these are all just parts of a toolkit. But, of course, all these things are only useful if you've actually got the officers, the people to do it. And that's not always the case.
The government is planning to double the number of specialist counter-terrorism probation officers and introduce tougher jail sentences for terrorists. So how useful will lie detector tests be alongside these measures? Well, with the effectiveness of polygraphs still up for debate, their actual usefulness in preventing further attacks will soon be put to the test itself.